Hi guys, it's Kelly, back again with another video. Today we are going to make a card that's a little bit different for me. I don't typically do a lot of larger shaped cards, but I was super feeling this threshold die, and then so I decided to pair that with the pumpkin patch stamps and dies and then the fall stamps and dies. This was heavily inspired by, these are just all my pieces parts that I'm going to be using to cut out for my doorway here. This was heavily inspired by a home decor DIYer. I'm not sure what to call her, but Heidi Sonnebule. I really love her channel, and she had done a pumpkin decoration for the front of her house that was super cute, and that's what inspired me to make this card. So her decoration was kind of like some stacked pumpkins that were all different colors, that were totally adorable. And so I thought, wouldn't it be cute to do like a door front kind of card and then decorate that door, that porch, that doorway for fall. So here, don't do what I'm doing. How many times in a video do I tell you that? Don't do what I'm doing. These should be the opposite. So the lighter color should have the larger windows and the darker color should have the smaller windows. I even checked it beforehand and still put it on there wrong, so I'm not really sure what I was doing. But I have three different colors of teal here. I have the back paneling, which is a darker teal, and then it should have been the medium teal and then the lightest teal in the front. That's how it should have went. It did not go that way, and this cardstock color, this super light cardstock color, I love so much. It's one of my favorite colors, and I just honestly I refused to cut it again because I didn't want to use the cardstock. So when I put it together, you're gonna see me here, like, are you kidding me, Kelly? Are you kidding me? It didn't look terrible to me, so that is why I left it. I decided that it was close enough for government work, and by the time I had put all my decorations on, it probably wouldn't even be that noticeable. And then I cut the top portion, like the crown molding portion, in the medium gray, and then in the, in the medium blue, and then in the darker gray color, because I'm going to use that darker gray to act as my porch. For this little wreath that's included in the set, which I think is so adorable, I'm going to add just a little bit of detail to it to make it a little bit more interesting. So I'm adding some shading with just a copic marker right over that like bright spring green color. And then I'm going to blend that out with just a couple of other greens just to give it something that's a little bit more interesting going on there. You certainly don't have to do that. But then I'm also going to use my Nuvo drops. The ones that I used are the gloss white. I'm just going to add a couple of little like berries on the leaves that are sticking out, again, just to add some more interest. I did struggle a little bit in the beginning with using my Nuvo drops because I had not used them in quite some time. So when I first went to push them out, they were a little bit like gunky. So just keep pushing through that. It does get better. Here for my crown molding at the top, I am going to add a little bit of shading with my copic markers just so that it looks like it has a shadow, because one piece would stick out a little bit further than the other. And you can do this with any of your die cuts. Like you can add shading to them with colored pencils or well, you can even do watercolors if you cut it out of watercolor paper. But yeah, I'm just going to use the markers that I have on hand to do that, just to give that illusion of having a little bit more depth. You guys know I'm all about the depth and dimension when I make my cards, even if they're die cuts that already inherently have depth and dimension. So the other thing is, it has a little mail slot and a little door handle. You certainly don't need to cut out the mail slot. I would recommend doing the door handle unless you have something that's going to be covering that portion of your door. But I chose to do gold because I thought that it would be the most complementary to the pumpkin color scheme that I wanted to do. But you know, if you were doing, like if you were using this for a Christmas card, which would be a great Christmas card, and decorating the door for Christmas, or you could do like a spooky Halloween, like you could certainly use any color that you have. If you don't have metallic cardstock, glitter would be fun, or you could even cut them out of like watercolor paper and then paint them with perfect pearls, or fill them in with like a metallic pen that you have, or paint marker. There's a lot of options. So I'm stamping these down. This was tricky for me because I was going to use the die cuts, but I also wanted to keep them all on one piece of paper. So I got a little greedy. Some of my stuff got a little too close to each other, especially that on the left hand side, that little acorn and the pumpkin that's turned sideways. Those are far too close to be die cutting anything out of anything, but I knew I was going to put my little pumpkin in front of my medium pumpkin, so I kind of let it go out of laziness that I didn't want to restamp them. You feel me? For my color schemes, you'll notice that these are two color schemes that I don't like, two color combinations that I don't typically go to, because I do like brighter colors. And I'll have another video later in the month where I'm using some brighter oranges. But because of the softer teal colors that I chose, I thought that it would work better to use softer oranges. Plus, not everybody likes bright colors, and I get that. So just giving you guys some other options. In that in Heidi's video, one of the colors that she used, which looked amazing, was like a mustard yellow, like a golden yellow ochre kind of color, which I typically do not like. Yellow's like my least favorite color. Purple's moved up. I think yellow is my least favorite color. But it really did look amazing, and so I decided to try it on this, and I have to say that it was super complimentary to the color scheme that I already had going on. As far as coloring pumpkins, these are some of the simplest images to color and get really good dimension. Honestly, they really are. These are great practice pieces to help with your flicking if you're trying to learn that. So I do the same thing I always do. Lightest to darkest, darkest to lightest. But you can see in the beginning how much of that highlight I'm leaving. And that's because as I go through the second time around, I will fill that in. But that way I definitely for sure have that curve of a highlight so that it has that dimension. All right, that's all. I'm going to just color now. You know I'm going to pop back in with other things because I always do. But we will move on. I apologize for making you guys wait so long. It was just a little bit crazy in our household, and I hurt my back, and I was like incapacitated for a week. And then probably like 2 days after mine started feeling better, Eric hurt his. So backs have been a problem in our household as of late. Mine was something super silly. I was carrying in I had to get a new computer chair because I gave my other one to Peanut for his new desk. And so I was carrying in the box, which really was not even that heavy, y'all. But I was trying to open the door and keep the dogs in and hold the box all at the same time. And I just turned a certain way and like pulled a muscle or something. I don't know. I felt it as soon as it happened. And then for the rest of the day, it was like decrepit and could not move without some sort of pain. Nathan was super sweet about it. He got me a little heating pad. He was running all of my little errands in the house if I needed something voluntarily. He was double checking on me. He was super sweet. But anyway, so that is why there was such a delay in me getting part 3 of the wedding story up. So where we left off, and don't worry, we have a long enough video. We're covering quite a bit of it, I think. So we get to the church with like 8 minutes to spare. 8 minutes. And I'm in the parking lot, and I cannot go into the building until somebody checks to see where Eric is. Because the room that they're in, I have to go past that hallway to get to the room I'm supposed to wait in. And so, like, I'm on the bus, I'm waiting to get off, like, waiting. And the girls go in to check to see where he's at, and, like, nobody's coming back. I have 8 minutes to go time, and I'm like, somebody needs to come back and tell me what's happening. Somebody needs to come back and tell me when I can get off this bus. So finally they come. I make it into the room without being seen, and I still have to do the corsages and was my dad's boutonniere done? No, we had to do that one too because I just brought them with me because I also had Eric's dad's. So I give Eric's dad's to or no, peanuts. I had peanuts. I give his to Amy and tell her, like, you need to go take this over to the boys so that he has his boutonniere for the ceremony. And then I have to send another one of my bridesmaids out to find my mother-in-law so that I can do her corsage. And then my something borrowed was a bracelet that I borrowed from her. I wanted something that was from Eric's side of the family. So obviously I had all my something blue, my, new, old, all of that. But I wanted something borrowed to be from her. So I had a little bracelet and I wanted a picture of her putting it on. So I just brought it with me. But now by this time, we're like 4 minutes to the ceremony. So finally, we get that done. I get pictures of me putting on my mom's corsage, me putting on my mother-in-law's corsage, and then her doing my bracelet. And then they're like, okay, I think we're good. I think we're ready. Okay. And then we wait. And we're waiting. And we're waiting. And I'm like, what is happening? It's after 2:00. Like, what is the deal? Like, they haven't even called for the bridesmaids to come down yet. And so it turns out, which this is from, Eric's side of things, that we're doing a sand ceremony. So like the unity candle, but different. Both of our moms pour the sand and then he and I pour the sand. Right. So Eric's brother, Anthony, and my brother-in-law, Jonathan, were supposed to escort our mothers down the aisle. Well, nobody ever came to get the boys to do the escorting. So we were backed up with trying to figure out, were they already seated? Did they seat themselves? Do they need to be escorted? Like, what's going on? So finally they get that doped out. The boys escort them down the aisle. Back to the card real quick. So here I just picked out a couple of colors that were less bright, that were a little more subdued. That's why I went with a YG95. It's definitely not as bright as I would normally go. But that way, so I could have fall colored leaves that I was going to put on top of my pumpkins. I really tried to avoid too much orange since I already had orange pumpkins. I tried to stick with a yellow, green, red combination. I did need the orange to kind of blend the yellow and the red together, but I tried to keep it to a minimum. Okay. So they get escorted down. They do the sand ceremony. At that time, the guys are already in the church. They're already in there, like in the sanctuary. And so now they tell us to come out. So we had originally tried to figure out a way for Eric not to see me because the back of the church is all glass. So I asked the pastor if there was another way into that area, and he was like, oh yeah, come with me, follow me down 2 flights of stairs across the basement of the church, climb down this ramp, up to another 2 flights of stairs, to this door, up another 2 flights of stairs, and here you are at the front of the church. And I'm like, wow, okay, this is some underground railroad stuff. I said, like, my dad cannot do this. Like, my dad cannot do this. So we decide that the boys are going to tape off the 2 windows in front of the door. Like, we just put like packaging, just like plain vanilla to cover the windows. And so then I was just like, it doesn't matter if he sees Dad. I will just like have the girls line the other windows and I will crouch walk, army crawl in my wedding dress to behind the doors where Eric will not be able to see me. Right? Okay. So this is what we do. All the girls line up. I'm walking down in my little like turtle stance in my wedding dress. And all of a sudden Daedra yells, stop. So I'm like frozen in this squat position. And I don't know about you all, but like my legs were not made to hold a squat. I don't exercise regularly. My thighs are on fire. Plus I'm in this wedding dress. And she was like, I got to get him to turn back around. I got to get him to turn back around. He was turned around. So finally they are able to motion to him that he needs to turn back around. And I can get to like down the stairs where they have like this little alcove. And that's where I waited. So they open the doors, we're waiting. Amy is the first one to go, God bless her, because she has severe anxiety, but she loves me enough to be in my wedding. And she was like, do I go? And I was like, wait for the music to change. Like, they were walking down to Canon and D. And I was like, wait for the music to change. And she was like, do I go? Do I go? And, like, so finally, like, the music starts to come to an end. And my father's like, just start walking. And I was like, Dad, no, wait, stop it. So Amy starts walking down. And then all the other girls go. I did walk into a traditional wedding march. So I was waiting for that music change. And again, my father was impatient. He was like, what is happening? Why are they not doing this? Back to the card. So I ended up trimming out 2 of the acorns in a fussy cut to go with the wreath, because I did not like that the white was showing when the wreath and the die cut leaves didn't have any white around them. So I cut out the acorns and was like, I'll just have these that are not with the white background. I ended up not really loving that. And you're going to see, I'll show you what it looks like with the white. And I think it's just because it was a little disjointed. I think if it was all white, it would probably be fine. Like if it all had the white outline. Or I could have colored in the outline. That's also always an option. But since I had so many colors going on in the background, I didn't want to have to try to match all of them. So I just fussy cut them because I don't mind that. If you do mind that, by all means, I really think the dies would be totally fine. Okay, so finally the wedding march starts. We are making our way down the aisle. Eric looked so handsome, and he was very funny about like the way he's like, are they going to take a picture of my face? Who's going to be looking at my face? And I was like, bare minimum, I'm going to be looking at your face. So it was awesome. Made our way down there. They did the whole, who gives this woman to be married? My dad, her mother, and I do. And so then now we're up on the altar, give my flowers to my sister, and we're waiting. And Peanut is positioned, even though he's a junior groomsman, he is right next to Eric. So the best man kind of took a step back so that Nathan could be up front there. And then we get started with the proceedings, and the pastor's going through. Eric and I are holding hands. We keep having this tug of war with hands because I love him, but he has little short arms, and he keeps trying to hold his arms the closer to him, which makes us look very uneven because then my arms are stretched out. We were giggling about it, like the pulling back and forth of the arms. And so the pastor is talking, and he was like, time passes, like these are the days of our lives, sands of time, all of this. And I was like, okay, we're going to do the sand ceremony. He said sand. This is the perfect segue. We're going to do it and get that out of the way. And then he just keeps talking, guys. He just keeps on talking. Talking. And I'm like, we're not doing this. Yeah, so in our ceremony, he completely skipped our portion of the sand ceremony. Like, we didn't do it at all. We did do it later on for the videographer and for photos after it was over, but during our actual wedding ceremony, we did not do it. We didn't do it. He forgot about it. So then we had our readers, which one of our readers was my niece, and then the other one of our readers was like his childhood best friend. So that was good. I finally got to kind of get my hands on Peanut while the reading was going on because he was standing with Eric and I. So I got to kind of, rub his back, reassure him, all these people looking at him kind of thing. And then we go through and say our vows and get married. And I was a little bit emotional. I did maybe get a little choked up while that was happening. But it's my wedding day, so I'm allowed. And like looking at like other pictures and stuff, like I was not the only one crying because his mother was crying and my mother was crying. So our mothers, but I'm like, yeah, see, I'm taking after good women here. So then we're done. They, you may kiss the bride. They announce us, and then we're back down the aisleway, and then Peanut and my goddaughter were the next ones to come down. So we waited at the bottom for them to come down because I didn't want them to just be standing there by themselves and not have any idea what to do. And so then I explained to Nathan, hey, Eric and I got to go in this classroom or whatever to wait for us to make our exit. You're going to stand here with Aunt Kim and Aunt Michelle since they were the next ones down the line. So then we go into the little classroom. and we're waiting. Oh, I forgot to mention, during the entirety of this thing, it is approximately 90 degrees, because when we were doing our rehearsal, remember I told you it was warm and they said that they would have the air conditioning on the next day. Turns out the air conditioning's broke. So everybody is just sweating to death. Just absolutely like sweating through their clothes, sweating to death. Here's that white outline I was talking about and how I didn't really love the way that it looked. So I'm just kind of laying it out to see, and then this is when I make the determination that I'm just going to fussy cut them. That's just going to be what happens. So we're waiting in the little classroom, and he's like, oh my gosh, it's so warm in here. He's like, we got the window air conditioner to work in the room that the guys were in. It's down to like 60 something in there. And I was like, then we need to make our way down there. We don't need to wait in this classroom. We'll wait down there. So we go down there where it is much cooler, and there was like water and stuff like that. Here with the card, so I did have this like jute twine that I thought would be super cute to kind of bring the whole thing together, but it was a little bit thick. So I tied my little bow and I glued it on, but then I wasn't really in love with the way that it looked. So at some point or another, I kind of dope out that I can pull it apart and it will be 3 separate strands, which is, I guess, much more rustic looking, but also much thinner on the card. And I liked that a lot better. So I'm going to be redoing that bow. So we go down and we're waiting for our turn to go, because we are exiting out the church. We did not do bubbles, so people didn't blow their germs all over everybody. We ended up, I actually didn't do anything. Eric's mom and his aunt wonderfully put together little bells for us, that had little tags on them that were so cute, and they handed out the bells for people to ring. That way there wasn't any germs being, done throughout everybody. So we did that. We took some pictures. We got to visit with people in the parking lot, because there were some people, obviously we got married during Corona. So there were some people who just came to the church and declined coming to the reception, which we totally understood. It was nice of them to even come out of their way to come, celebrate with us. So we were trying to make our rounds and visit with the people in the parking lot. And then from there, we went back inside to take pictures. Now back inside with the no air conditioning, so we tried to like knock them out as quick as possible. Like we did one family and got them out the door so that they could go on with their day. It was a beautiful day, and it was a great day to be outside because it was so hot in that church. It was so hot. Eric and I were the last ones standing, and he was super over it, and you could just tell he was so hot. And which I don't blame him. Like in a suit, I obviously had a lightweight sleeveless dress on. It's a little bit different when you've got on an undershirt, button down, a vest, a jacket. Like 90 degrees is a little bit less appealing if you're wearing all that. So we did get our family photos taken, and then we got individual photos. Our photographers were amazing. They got on the party bus with us. And then I had we had talked about a couple of different options for doing the actual pictures. So here you can see, if you look very closely on that one pumpkin, that there's a little notch taken out of it. And that was from the die cutting of the acorn. But I'm going to cover it up with this little mustard colored pumpkin. So it's no big deal. And then I'm going to decorate them the same way that I decorated the other pumpkin, with the leaves and the bows and the acorns. But so they got on the party bus with us to get all kinds of, pictures there, which was super awesome. And then we ended up going to it's called the Station Road Bridge. But it is like an old train station. It has train tracks and this beautiful bridge in the background, and that is where we took our pictures. We had intended on going downtown to take some photos, but by the time all was said and done, we just really didn't have time to do it. We could have tried to fit in something else, or we could have 20 minutes to sit on the bus by ourselves with our feet up. And so we opted to do that. We opted to sit on the bus with our feet up, because so we took all of our bridesmaids, groomsmen, family, large, photos, everything. And then everybody was allowed to go back to the bus except for Eric and I. We took our solo pictures. Here, I'm just putting the sentiment on the inside. That's what I opted for because I didn't really find a good way to put it on the front of the card. So I just decided I was going to put it on the inside, and it would be super cute. So, but anywho, we did those, and then after those pictures were over, I walked right into the grass. I took my shoes off, and I said, I'm putting my flip-flops on, and I'm not putting these things on for the rest of the night. I'm over it. I'm over these shoes. I've been in them for like 4 hours now, and that's that. So this is it. This is the whole card. I hope you guys super loved it. I think that it's so cute. I wish that I had the time to decorate my own front door like this. I don't. Maybe someday. But I do think that it's adorable card for like a new house or just a hey, happy fall, thinking of you kind of thing. So that's it. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will catch you on the next video.